Welcome everyone to a new Autogefühl episode. This is Thomas, today from Portugal, with some new car, and this is the Peugeot 308 GT, the new sports version. And you've maybe seen our video from the Volkswagen Golf GTI. This is a direct competitor. Well, it's of course different, but it's a new competitor here from Peugeot, because so far you could only get 150 horsepower for that car. And now there are two new versions, one with petrol, 1.6 liter petrol engine with 205 horsepower, and a 2 liter diesel with 180 horsepower. And you also get it as an E-state and as a hatch. This one is the hatch and with the petrol engine with the 205 horsepower. And we're going to find out about the power and also about the other features of this new GT version. So we're starting here with the design features, because the GT line is of course also about the exterior. Here we got 3 horizontal lines with chrome elements, usually we just have 2, and we have a GT logo. And then we also have a bigger front air intake here as well. We also got full LED headlights, 62 LEDs in total for the beam. From the side profile, we can see we got a chrome frame around the mirror, around the windows. It's very beautiful in my opinion. Here we got the 18-inch alloys. They are also from serial production with the GT version. And by the way, if you think, okay, I just want to have the optical features, I don't care so much about the engine, there's also a new GT line available for the 308. And this GT line, for example, in Germany costs 1,800 euros. And then you just pop up the design. But this here is the full GT version, and it costs around 30,000 euros. And that's quite interesting, because it's obvious they don't want to be cheaper, for example, than Volkswagen. GTI is about 29,000 euros in Germany. They say we want to be really competitive. We don't want to be the cheap version of a GTI or something like that. We want to build something on our own. I mean, you must think a normal 308 version, just the basic car, costs 17,000 euros in Germany. So it's almost double the price. But you also got everything in there which is kind of possible, except for the panoramic roof, you have to pay extra. But you got kind of the highest trim level then. And finally at the rear we got another GT badge, and we got 2 pipes here in the rear, and usually we just got one. And I think they're very beautiful, because they have a very broad cover here. And we got something like a rear diffuser. They call it rear diffuser. Well, it is none in my opinion, but I think it's very beautiful because it has this shiny black color. So let's take a small look at the engine. The opening mechanism is kind of cheap in my opinion, and we do not have the hydraulic dampers, which we find so great, for example, at the Volkswagen. Here we just have a stick to put it up. And then this, you see, there's not a big cover, so we can actually see a lot of the engine. And I know you also want to see something of the engine always, so we just have to take a look at this one here. This one is now, as I said, the 1.6 liter petrol engine, 205 horsepower. The acceleration figure from 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 60 miles an hour is 7.5 seconds for the petrol engine. It would be 8.6 seconds for the diesel engine, but it's also the case that the petrol engine is connected with the manual transmission, and the diesel is connected with the automatic gearbox. Therefore, in Germany you pay 2,000 euros extra for the diesel, because then you got diesel and the automatic gearbox, and that's of course more expensive also. So welcome here to the interior. As I said, we got the highest trim level here because the GT version tops up the even highest trim level so far and goes even further. From serial production, we got seats here with Alcantara and artificial leather mix. I think this is the best solution. However, here we got the full leather option. I would also always go for the Alcantara version because I'm not a fan of real leather anymore, because you know, it's better to go for the artificial version because so much animals are slaughtered for the real leather. And the Alcantara version is also more sporty because it gives you more support and you also don't sweat on it so much, and it's also not that cold in the winter. So, but besides the seats, you know, this is a classical new 308 cockpit. I think it's very well done because it's absolutely clean. Most of the functions are controlled via the new touchscreen, and so you don't have so much buttons here. You know, you got volume control and to close the doors, and of course the warning for cars behind. But then that's kind of it. I mean, you got the seat heating below there. But that's almost finished, and then that keeps everything very clean. They got clever solutions here as well. For example, on the dashboard, this is actually plastic, but it doesn't look like that. It has a nice surface, and with the contrast stitches, it's almost also this classical luxury leather look. So that's well done there as well. You see that the cockpit and steering wheel is kind of separated, don't form one unit. So the cockpit is pretty high, so well, it's actually quite good for your visibility. And then the most special thing about this car is of course the steering wheel. We got also the red contrast stitches here in the GT version. And the steering wheel in general in the 308 is very small, and that gives you that go-kart feeling. It's a lot of fun to drive the car just because of this very small steering wheel. And we also got the flattened end here with the GT logo here in that top version. Optionally is the panoramic roof here. You don't get it from serial production, but I would really recommend it because it's very beautiful and gives so much light here to the whole interior. Then we got the manual transmission here with a beautiful shifting lever in this chrome look, and we're going to find out about that one later. From serial production, here comes a driver pack. That means you can change the driving mode even to a very sporty mode, where you have a sound generator, more sound in the interior, and also a spontaneous throttle input and director steering. We're going to find out about that while driving very soon. So I'll show you just some more impressions here of the interior, and then we go to driving. So just that you get an idea of the multimedia system. For example, if we want to change the climate, we can put it here, temperature, and also the vents. Then we can see the car info here. Here we can see the music, radio, or you can connect your phone via Bluetooth. The GPS also works all with the touchscreen. I think the reaction times are also quite fast, and just the visibility and the quality of the display is also very good. It's really like using an iPad, and I think it's kind of futuristic, especially when you compare it to the competitors. I think they have done quite a good job here. So we start driving here now in the normal mode. What we feel here in the normal mode is that the steering wheel is very soft, not only from the surface, but also the steering is very soft. So, well, that's good when you, for example, search something in the parking lot. So you don't need any power to turn it around. That's of course not the most sportiest feeling, yes, of course. And also just from the pedals, the clutch there, it feels very soft. And also if we compare it to the Golf GTI, the GTI feels a little bit stiffer in general. But then again, for the GT version, maybe the most important feature. In the central console we can push it to the sport mode, and then we got the red instruments, which is also very beautiful, racing style. And we get a little bit stiffer steering wheel, and also the throttle input increases, so I get more response from the car in general. I think that's very good for this sporty car here. Now let's hear the sound. Now you hear that there's a special sound generator here for the interior. Of course you can't compare it with a big petrol engine, but I think it's still, you know, a nice change they could do here for the GT version. However, I'm not too convinced of this sound, I must say. So now again, when I get more response from the steering wheel, well, it's a little bit stiffer, but very important factor is it's not more progressive. So you need quite some way to steer around. So maybe if you got very sharp corners, you have to go around even further. About the suspension, well, it does sit lower here in GT version, and what is very interesting that it sits lower in the front 7 mm and in the back 10 mm. So, well, just 3 mm, a little bit angled in the front. That's very interesting because usually they just even it out. The Golf GTI, for example, or Leon Cupra, Skoda Octavia VRS, they sit 50 mm lower. So, and that's maybe an indicator what Peugeot is trying to do, because they claim we are more comfortable than the competitors. And I think that they didn't put the car that low might also be an indicator for that. And indeed, that's the case. So if you want a little sporty car, but still want to have it quite comfortable, you would be more satisfied with that one. I can now already say, for example, the Leon Cupra or the Golf GTI is the most sporty car. It's stiffer on the road, gives you more response from the steering wheel and also from the throttle input. So it's not about which car is better or worse, it's more about what you really want. This one, I think, is the more relaxing, more comfortable car, also for the long journeys. And I think you always have to think about your height, of course. I'm almost 190 meters, and I must say I feel more comfortable in the Golf, because here the seat space is limited. The seat isn't too long, so quite shorty for my legs, and you see, if I want to sit close to the steering wheel, which is very important that I can still control everything, I got a quite sharp angle already at my knees. So I would also prefer another brand here just for my size. However, if you're a little bit smaller, that might perfectly fit to you. And what is of course very good, it doesn't matter if you are just going on the motorway as we're doing it right here now, or just if you have the dynamic feeling. This go-kart steering wheel is really a great idea, and it has so much fun while driving. Now if you want to relax here on the motorway, I think the sound isolation is not the best one, because it's getting quite loud here. We're in 6th gear, 100 kilometers an hour. You know, I think it's a little bit too loud for that one. However, what we do enjoy is this very bright interior with this huge panoramic roof. You cannot open it, that's sad, but well, that's always a compromise, because if you cannot open it, it's usually going all the way to the back, and so you also get some nice views if you carry around rear passengers. So, these are some driving impressions, and I want to also to hear your opinion. What do you get? What impression do you get from seeing these views here from the car and also from the interior? What do you think about the exterior? I want to hear your comments on that one. Well, that's rather a car for smaller people. Also accounts here for the rear compartment, because when I have the driver's seat here now, as I was sitting, you see, well, knee space is limited, and also I can't put my shoes that well under the seat. Well, about the headroom, you see, I almost touch the side here because the panoramic roof also loses some head space here. So if you want more space in the back for your head, you should not go for the panoramic roof. But you know, usually you have to because it's just so beautiful. But in general, I cannot recommend to sit here in the rear compartment as a tall level. It should be a little bit smaller or just for your children. So just a short look at the trunk of the SW, the E-State version. You see we've got a very long loading area, very practical. See, there's a huge difference. So before we come to our conclusion, I want to show you the E-State version as well, the 308 SW. You see there's a longer wheelbase, and the car itself is also longer, and of course you got more space in the trunk. Of course, in my opinion, it's not that attractive just from the optical side, because the proportion looks better in the hatch, in my opinion. Or what do you think? But of course you always have a higher usability for the car. So, and let me sum up the car in general. The new 308 GT is a quite nice sporty car. You rather got the comfortable feeling still, so you don't lose comfort in comparison to the normal version. You get a little bit sportier attitude because you have this dynamic mode, and you have a wide variety of equipment already from serial production, from the exterior and as well as from the interior. For example, you also got this whole range of assistant systems, for example, the blind spot sensor, front assistant warning, and so on. And as people today nowadays pick the higher trim level in general, it's also not such a big step then to go to the GT version. So in comparison to the competitors, it's rather going to the comfort, and it's also better for not that tall people. So that is my conclusion. Other cars, the competitors, are stiffer, sportier, and also better for the tall people. So the optical side, I think it's very well done, but just from the driving side, I would have liked if we see a little bit more dynamic factors. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.